Summary of the book, Make Your Bed by William H. McRaven. If you want to change the world, start by making your bed. If you can't do the small things right, you'll never do the big things. William H. McRaven. If you make your bed when you wake up, you've accomplished your first task. You'll feel a sense of pride, and it will encourage you to accomplish one more goal, then another and another. That one small task will add up to many accomplished goals. Make Your Bed presents 10 essential life lessons that Navy SEAL veteran Admiral William H. McRaven discovered through his experience in rigorous training and high-risk missions. McRaven introduces these teachings through inspiring true stories based on each individual's ability to face adversity, strengthen their character, and make a positive impact on the world. Originating as a commencement speech that captivated millions, McRaven delves deeper into these principles for everyday application. If you want to change the world, start by making your bed. If you make your bed every morning, you will have accomplished the first task of the day. It will give you a small sense of pride, and it will encourage you to do another task, and another, and another. By the end of the day, that one completed task will have turned into many completed tasks. Making your bed will also reinforce the fact that the little things in life matter. If you can't do the little things right, you'll never be able to do the big things right. And if you happen to have a miserable day, you'll come home to a bed that's made, that you made. And a made bed gives you encouragement that tomorrow will be better. To pass SEAL training, there are a series of long swims that must be completed. One is the night swim. Before the swim, instructors cheerfully brief students on all the species of sharks that inhabit the waters off San Clemente. They assure you, however, that no student has ever been eaten by a shark, at least not that they can recall. But they also teach you that if a shark starts circling you, stand your ground. Don't swim away. Don't act afraid. And if the shark, hungry for a midnight snack, lunges at you, muster all your strength and punch it in the snout, and it will turn and swim away. There are plenty of sharks in the world. If you hope to complete the swim, you'll have to deal with them. So if you want to change the world, don't back down from sharks. Over a few weeks of tough training, my SEAL class, which started with 150 men, was reduced to just 42. There were now 6 crews of 7 men each. I was in the boat with the tall guys, but the best boat crew we had was made up of short guys. We called them the pygmy crew. No one was taller than 5'6". The midget crew had a Native American, an African American, a Polish American, a Greek American, an Italian American, and 2 tough guys from the Midwest. They outrowed, outran, and outswam all the other boat crews. The big men on the other crews always made fun of the little fins the dwarves wore on their tiny feet before every swim. But somehow, these little guys from every corner of the nation and the world always had the last laugh, outswimming everyone and reaching shore long before the rest of us. SEAL training was a great equalizer. Nothing mattered but your will to succeed. Not your color, not your ethnicity, not your education, not your social status. If you want to change the world, measure a person by the size of his heart, not by the size of his fins. The 9th week of training is known as Hell Week. It's 6 days of no sleep, constant physical and mental harassment, and a special day in the mud bogs. The mud bogs are an area between San Diego and Tijuana where the churning water rushes in and creates the Tijuana estuaries, a swampy terrain where the mud envelops you. It's on Wednesday of Hell Week that they paddle out to the mud bogs and spend the next 15 hours trying to survive the freezing cold, howling wind, and constant pressure to quit from instructors. As the sun began to set that Wednesday afternoon, my training class, having committed some serious infraction of the rules, was ordered into the mud. The mud consumed each man until only our heads were visible. The instructors told us that we could get out of the mud if only 5 men surrendered. Just 5 men. Just 5 men, and we could get out of the oppressive cold. Looking around the swamp, it was evident that some students were close to giving up. There were more than 8 hours until the sun rose. 8 more hours of bone-deep cold. The chattering teeth and shuddering moans of the trainees were so loud it was difficult to hear anything. And then, a voice began to echo through the night. A voice rose in song. The song was terribly out of tune, but it was sung with great enthusiasm. One voice became two, and two became three, and before long, everyone in the class was singing. The instructors threatened us with more time in the mud if we kept singing, but the singing persisted, and somehow, the mud seemed a little warmer, the wind a little softer, and the dawn not so far away. If I have learned anything in my time traveling the world, it is the power of hope. The power of one person, a Washington, a Lincoln, a King, a Mandela, and even a young girl from Pakistan, Malala. One person can change the world by giving people hope. So if you want to change the world, start each day with a task completed. Find someone to help you through life. Respect everyone. Know that life isn't fair and that you will fail often. But if you take some risks, face the toughest times, stand up to the bullies, lift up the downtrodden, and never, ever give up. If you do these things, the next generation and the generations after will live in a much better world than the one we have today. And what started here will have changed the world for the better. Key point 1. Start with a task accomplished. Making your bed each morning is a small habit that builds discipline and a sense of accomplishment as you start your day. Every morning in SEAL training, instructors rigorously inspected the beds. The corners had to be perfectly aligned, the blankets pulled tight without a single wrinkle, and the pillow centered and aligned. Students knew that if anything was out of place, punishment awaited them. They would be sent out into the surf, where they would be soaked and covered in sand from head to toe. No matter how big the challenges ahead, the day always began with the same task: making the bed. Making your bed is much more than just an act of order. It is a sign of discipline and attention to detail. By starting your day with one task accomplished, however small, you begin to build a chain of accomplishments. That first task done perfectly sets the tone for the rest of the day, encouraging you to approach each new challenge with the same mindset. Making your bed is not only a sign of personal discipline, it teaches the importance of taking care of the little things. When seemingly insignificant tasks are completed with care, it sets a standard that is reflected in the larger tasks. A well-made bed symbolizes perseverance and resilience, especially in an environment where chaos and pressure are constant. Even if the day has been a disaster, arriving at the end of the day and finding the bed made is a reminder of control and achievement, a sign that at least something about that day was done correctly. It is a symbol of hope, because the tidy bed awaits at the end of the day like a refuge, suggesting that tomorrow is a new opportunity to improve. On missions and in times of war, the importance of discipline in detail becomes even clearer. When I was in Iraq, even though we slept on cots, I still made my bed every morning. No matter the location or the circumstances, the act of making my bed every day reinforced a sense of structure in a world filled with uncertainty. Even when checking on Saddam Hussein in his cell, I saw how he, unlike the soldiers, left his covers in disarray. This reflected a lack of care and self-respect, a stark contrast to the self-discipline and respect for order we learned in SEAL training. Making your bed is not just a physical action. It is a daily reminder of the importance of personal responsibility and resilience in the face of challenges. Key point 2. Work as a team. The SEAL team is a team that is built on the support of others and works together, just like in a SEAL team. In SEAL training, teamwork is forged under extreme conditions, where each member depends deeply on the others to endure the rigors of training and achieve common goals. Throughout each day, the aspiring crews must face tests that cannot be overcome alone. The small, heavy rubber boats require the strength and coordination of each of their occupants to navigate the waves of up to 3 meters that rise off the beaches of Coronado. No rower can afford to falter, because that would mean the boat would lose its course and be thrown violently back to shore. Each rower works in perfect synchrony, aligning each movement to the rhythm of the boat, following the orders of the helmsman. The lesson is clear: no one can reach the goal alone. During training, each team shares the burden of the day and supports a teammate who, exhausted or injured, cannot give his best. At such times, the other team members take the lead, row harder, or give up part of their rations. The boat becomes the symbol of this need for interdependence. In life, as at sea, no one can reach the goal alone. There is always a need for people to bear the weight when it seems unbearable, those who motivate one to continue rowing even when strength fails. These lessons of teamwork in the SEAL training tests are carried over into moments of combat and everyday life. The lesson, engraved in each of the aspirants during the arduous days of training, is that true success and survival depend on unity and unconditional support. Key point 3. Perseverance is key. It's not physical size that matters, but the will and heart to overcome challenges. In SEAL training, physical size does not define who completes the tests. It is the heart, the indomitable will that allows one to endure and win. Among the cadets, the pygmy crew stood out. They were young men under 5 feet tall, but what they lacked in height, they made up for with tenacity that led them to win in swimming, running, and rowing over other groups that, apparently, outperformed them in physicality. They faced daily ridicule for their miniature fins and little feet, but time and again they proved that these words were no barriers for them. They swam and reached the beach before anyone else. SEAL training works like an equalizer. There, neither skin color, nor origin, nor status matter. The only thing that matters is the determination to succeed. Each morning, after intense exercises and grueling sea tours, instructors confront them with challenges designed to test their will to the limit, making sure that the weakest ones back off. The strength of each cadet is measured in their actions, in the ability to overcome, to give their best when all seems lost. The essence is to learn to judge not by the size of one's fins, but by the inner force that drives each one. Examples like that of Tommy Norris, who was initially rejected for his seemingly frail physique, demonstrate the value of unwavering determination. Norris, who would later receive the Medal of Honor, endured the trials of Vietnam and became one of the most respected SEALs in history, standing out not only for his courage, but for demonstrating that what really counts is the size of his heart. This teaching has deeply marked generations of SEALs and represents the core of a philosophy that extends beyond boot camp. True strength lies in not giving in standing firm, and moving forward when everything seems impossible. Key point 4. Life is not fair. Move on. Life is hard and full of adversity. Instead of complaining, it is crucial to adapt and persevere. Life isn't fair, and understanding this reality can be the difference between falling into frustration or moving forward with determination. In SEAL training, the injustice was evident in tests like the sugar cookie. No matter how neat the uniform or how impeccable every detail was, a cadet was sometimes ordered to run into the water, get soaked, roll in the sand, and stay covered in it for the entire day. This arbitrariness exasperated those who sought perfection and craved fair reward for their efforts. However, understanding that fair rewards are not always received was one of the most profound lessons. The key is not to expect fairness, but to keep going regardless of adversity. In life, as in training, being a sugar cookie symbolizes the moments when, despite effort, one faces failure or contempt. True strength is found in keeping one's head held high and not falling into self-pity. Each cadet had to learn to bear the weight of injustice without letting themselves be broken, because life outside that training camp would continue to present moments in which nothing seems fair, and it is resilience that allows one to overcome those barriers. Thus, this concept is taken to the extreme in extreme situations. Moments of life or death, such as on missions or in the hospital with wounded soldiers, where some have lost everything except the desire to continue fighting. There we see that adversity forms character, and that those who manage to overcome without self-pity find the strength to face life's greatest challenges. Key point 5. Failure strengthens. Failures and difficulties prepare people for future challenges, developing resilience. Every person will face moments of downfall and failure that, rather than weakening, have the potential to strengthen. During SEAL training, the circus, a series of extra, grueling calisthenics, became a metaphor for life. Aspirants who failed to meet standards faced hours of grueling exercises designed to break the spirit. Day after day, the list of those who failed grew again, and with it, their fear of the circus. But for those who endured this experience, an unexpected benefit emerged. They became stronger, faster, and more resilient. The accumulated failures in the form of fatigue and pain turned out to be the building blocks of an inner strength that prepared them for the challenges they would encounter not only in training, but on the battlefield and in life itself. Key point 6. Take risks. Taking calculated risks is essential for personal and professional growth. Staying in your comfort zone limits your potential. Standing on the edge of a platform, 30 feet in the air, with only a rope hanging down to the ground, is an act in which risk becomes a lesson in courage. Holding the nylon rope, the aspirants know that a fall can mean not only injury, but the end of their training. Climbing the tower and sliding headfirst down is not the safe way, but it is the option that challenges their fears and teaches them that to achieve success, they must leave their comfort zone and take risks. These types of calculated and bold decisions allow them to discover their true limits and the extent of their capabilities. In combat missions, the risks can be even greater, but they are carefully planned. During a rescue operation in Iraq, 3 hostages held by Al-Qaeda were about to be flown to an unknown destination. The SEALs were required to act immediately and land in broad daylight in the center of an enemy compound, which would normally be too risky a tactic. However, this was the only feasible time. The helicopters descended in a cloud of dust, and the operation was carried out successfully, saving the lives of the hostages. The ability to take calculated risks under pressure is what sets these teams apart and allows them to complete seemingly impossible missions. The British Special Forces SAS motto "Risk takes risk" encapsulates this philosophy. Living without facing the fear of failure limits personal growth and fulfillment. Life is a constant struggle, and staying in the safety of the familiar path prevents one from reaching one's true potential. Key point 7. Confronting bullies. Having the courage to stand up to bullies and tyrants is fundamental to leadership and justice. All bullies operate the same way. They feed on the fear they can provoke. Saddam Hussein, dressed in an orange jumpsuit, sat on the edge of his cot in the cell, projecting a defiant glare and a sneer. When the new leaders of the Iraqi government entered, they shouted from afar, but each word was drowned out by the fear the former dictator still instilled. Hussein, the butcher of Baghdad, had terrorized an entire nation and killed thousands, many by his own hands, showing at every turn that a man's courage is tested by his willingness to stand up to bullies and not run away. But as he watched these leaders fearful, the former dictator clung to an illusion of power. The new authorities seemed unable to wrest from him the last of his weapons, his capacity for intimidation. Every day, the challenge was to remind Saddam that his power was over. Without the need for words, every visit, every order to return to bed was a clear message. He was no longer intimidating, no longer important. The small room in which he was isolated represented the collapse of his power. There were no more palaces, no more soldiers, no more support from those who had followed him. And with each silent visit, he became a simple man without influence. The courage required to stand up to tyrants and bullies is not limited to figures of power, but extends to all areas of life. Whether on a playground, at work, or in the face of an authoritarian regime, the only effective response to abuse is to stand firm and not give in to fear. Key point 8. Face the challenges. In tough times, giving your all and showing courage makes all the difference. In the most difficult moments, meeting the challenge means giving every ounce of effort, holding on with a courage that transforms. During SEAL training, Hell Week demands that each candidate endure 6 days without sleep, in extreme cold and constant tests of physical and mental endurance. On Wednesday night, as they sink into the mud, with water and mud up to their necks, the instructors mockingly tell them that only 5 men must give up so that everyone can get out. But no one gives up. The icy mud chills the bones, and the pain is such that some men are on the verge of giving up. But at that moment, a voice begins to sing. Though out of tune, it sounds strong and vibrant. Little by little, other cadets join in, and the defiant chorus fills the night. Each man sings not only to endure the cold, but to remind himself and his comrades that they are in this challenge together. Their voices rise, and the mud feels a little less heavy, the wind less cutting, and the dawn a little closer. The song becomes a symbol of courage, of that drive it takes not to give up when the body is at its limit. That night, the song that broke the silence symbolized the decision to face the challenge without turning back. Each aspirant knows that only by overcoming the hardest tests will he be able to emerge stronger. Key point 9. Inspire others. A positive action can be a source of hope and inspiration for others, especially in dark times. In dark times, a positive action, no matter how small, can be the spark that lights up hope. During Hell Week, SEAL hopefuls are plunged into icy mud holes up to their necks in water and mud. The cold is so intense that their entire bodies shiver uncontrollably, and pain seeps into their bones. Calculating instructors step in and offer a way out. If just 5 men surrender, everyone can go outside and get warm. At first, the cadets hesitate. Some even think about taking the offer and quitting. But just as hopelessness seems to take hold, a voice begins to sing, weak and out of tune, but full of energy. That one voice becomes a symbol of resistance. Slowly, others join in the singing, until the mud no longer feels so cold and the night seems a little less endless. The act of that cadet, of raising his voice in the darkness, inspires the others to keep going. Each understands that if just one of them can overcome the anguish, then they all can. It is not about overcoming the pain, but about sharing a show of strength that fills everyone with determination. When the instructors threaten to leave them in the mud even longer, they sing louder, united in defiance, and the morale of each of the aspirants grows. In that early morning, the singing of these men represents much more than rebellion. It is an example of how hope, transmitted through a single voice, can change the energy of an entire group. That night in the mud is a vivid lesson in the power of positive action. In the darkest moments, the presence of someone who inspires can make everyone find a reason to resist. Key point 10. Never give up. Persistence and tenacity are key to overcoming obstacles and achieving goals in life. It doesn't matter how many times the drill instructor rings the bell, that bell that represents the easy way out, a release from trials and pain. Every cadet knows that to endure means not to ring it, that each day he must choose effort and perseverance over surrender. In SEAL training, every challenge is a lesson in endurance. Every dawn brings a new test, and the drill instructors make it clear. All you have to do is walk up to the bell and ring it 3 times to be free from pain. But each one who decides to stay knows that that choice will shape the rest of his life. 1 year later, in Afghanistan, young Ranger Adam Bates faces an even crueler test. Seriously wounded, with burns on his body and after losing both legs, he raises his hand to communicate, with signs, something that his determination does not allow him to ignore. "I'm going to be okay." This young man, who had arrived only a week earlier on his first mission, found in his own strength and will the necessary resistance to not give up in the face of a destiny that would have broken anyone. Instead of letting himself be defeated, he becomes an example of what it means to face adversity with one's head held high. 1 year after that night, Adam Bates challenges his companions to a pull-up contest, with a smile on his face and an indomitable strength in his spirit. This image of resistance shows how someone who refuses to give up can transform not only his own destiny, but also inspire those around him to continue forward in the face of any obstacle. Conclusion. In life, small daily actions and decisions build character and make a difference in how we face challenges. From the act of making our bed each morning to a commitment to never give up, the book lays out lessons that reflect values such as discipline, resilience, and courage in the face of adversity. These lessons are not just for military life, but for anyone seeking to live with purpose and face trials with integrity and persistence. Each chapter presents a core principle that McRaven learned and applied throughout his career in the SEALs and in extreme situations. The themes of perseverance, collaboration, courage, and optimism, even in the darkest of times, offer guidance that inspires everyone to seek out their best selves and help others do the same. Ultimately, the book is a reminder that one person, through their actions and example, can change lives and make a significant impact on the world. Get the book at planetalibro.com.